In this video, I will install version 9 of Metricbeat, which from what I can tell works the same as version 8. Metricbeat is a lightweight software that ships operational metrics of various services from your server to Elasticsearch or to Logstash. In this video, I will demonstrate how to set up Metricbeat to ship operating system metrics and operational metrics of web servers to Elasticsearch. For our YouTube members, I have videos that show how to integrate beats like Metricbeat into more advanced Logstash architectural patterns. And for everyone else, I have a lot of old videos that show how to configure Metricbeat and the ELK stack to send email notifications based on events that you are monitoring. These videos were made for version 8, but they still seem to work in version 9. If I get a chance, I will try to create videos on version 9 of Kibana alerts and notifications. With that out of the way, let's get started with this Metricbeat demonstration. So to begin, I already have an instance of Elasticsearch and Kibana installed on a different server somewhere. If you want to know how to set up Elastic Kibana version 9, I have a video for that already. I'll link to it in the description of this video. The other thing we're going to need is another machine. So I have this machine here. It's a different machine from the Elastic Stack machine up here. This has 1 GB of memory. It's Ubuntu 24.04. And this machine will ship metrics about this machine over to Elasticsearch. We'll probably install other tools on it, like maybe Apache or Nginx, and ship the metrics for those services over to Elastic as well. Now, given this is a brand new machine, I should do the usual updates to an Ubuntu machine. So apt-get update and apt distribution upgrade to grab the latest updates for the distribution, and apt-get install -y vim curl new pg and gpg. So vim because it's the text editor that I like to use, curl because we probably need to download some packages, new pg and gbg because they're popular dependencies used by many libraries. So I'll pause until this is done. So it seems Ubuntu is up to date now. Let's actually get started with this tutorial. First thing we'll do is install Metricbeat, and these instructions here, they're just based off of the official documentation. If you go to setup and run, we're using, run Metricbeat. Okay, so we're using the aptitude repositories. So I just basically summarize these instructions into this over here. And let's just copy. I'll make a simple script for this so that we can do this all in one motion. And I'll pause until this is done. It looks like Metricbeat is installed now, and you can find the configuration files inside this Metricbeat directory, and the binaries are under share Metricbeat bin, of which there is only one here, and this is the actual binary that's used by the system service. So let's see what the next step is. The next step is to enable the modules that you care about. So under here, let me just make this window a bit bigger. And if I do ls, so you can see that there's a list of services that Metricbeat is familiar with. And Metricbeat can ship metrics and data and statistics about these services over to our Elasticsearch instance. Most of these, actually not just most, they're all disabled right now. So you can enable the ones that you do care about as needed. But by default, Metricbeat will ship the CPU, memory, and other host health information about this actual server over to Elasticsearch. Now, before Metricbeat can do anything, we need to do some setup. And if you look in Elasticsearch, Elasticsearch has a whole bunch of resources that probably needs to be configured before Metricbeat can be used. If we look at the official documentation, you can see that the setup will do things like load mappings, dashboards, and other objects, data views, and probably other things that Elasticsearch and Metricbeat both need. To do the setup, you need a user that can do the setup. And that means the user needs a role with these privileges to be able to do that kind of setup. And I've summarized them over here in this block of text here. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's first create the role that the user needs to do the setup. So I'm going to click to over here, and you click to roles, and let's create the setup role. I'll just call it Metricbeat setup, and the description can be anything you want, and we need to give it the monitor and manage index lifecycle management. Again, just like our FileBeat episode, we need both of these privileges. And if you want to learn more about index lifecycle management, I'll link to a series that we produced that talks about that. Next is for the Metricbeat indices, we need the manage action on it. And let's press create. And let's go to users, and let's create a Metricbeat user. And the email can be anything we want. And for the password, we're going to keep it simple. And for the roles, it's going to be the Metricbeat role that we created earlier. And we're going to say Kibana admin and ingest admin. Kibana admin, ingest admin. And we'll go ahead and create that user. And now we can start editing the metricbeat.yaml file. So let's clear this. So you can see that this is basically the same as the metricbeat.yaml file from version 8. First thing we'll take a look at is this line here. Any modules that we've enabled in the modules.d directory will automatically be picked up here, or automatically be picked up when you start up the service. But reload has been disabled, meaning anytime you make changes in this directory, you will have to manually restart the Metricbeat service. Since we're using systemd, we'll just be doing systemctl restart Metricbeat. Towards the end of this episode, I'll demonstrate with reload.enabled true. That way, any changes that you make in here, it will automatically be picked up by Metricbeat without you having to do a systemctl restart Metricbeat. Okay, so I think these settings, not too important to mention here. And once we get here, it's the Kibana.host that we should modify first. And this would be HTTPS. The address is 192.53.120.180. So that's the IP address of our stack over here, or our Kibana. And we're also going to need the certificate from the certificate authority that signed this TLS certificate up here. So we'll grab that in a moment, but let's first state the path to it. Certificate authorities. And we'll put it at Metricbeat certs http ca.cert. So let's grab this file right now. I'm going to have to open up an SSH instance to our Elasticsearch server to grab it. So give me a moment. So I've SSH'd into our Elasticsearch server. And if I go to the certs directory, I will grab the CA. I will copy this. We'll go over here, make a certs directory. I'll make the ca.crt file, paste it in here, save, and now we can close this. All right, so we've configured the Kibana, and now let's do the same for Elasticsearch. If I go to output.elasticsearch, where is it? Oh. Here it is. Let's type in the IP address of our stack again, 192.53.120.180. This is going to use TLS, it will use the newly created Metricbeat user, which has the setup role. Let's type in the password. And we're also going to need the certificate authority. Certificate authorities. etc Metricbeat certs http ca.crt. And I'm also going to add this option, setup.ilm.check exists false. It's actually for an action that we need to perform several steps further down. But I'll explain it again once we get there. I might as well put it in here now before I forget. .check exists is equal to false. And I believe that should be it for now. Let's test our configuration file to make sure it's okay. And let's also test to make sure the output or the connection to Elasticsearch is functional. I'll paste this in here like this. You can see the configuration file doesn't have any errors, and we are able to successfully connect with Elasticsearch, which means we are now ready to run this setup command. Now, before we run it, let me just show you how. If I go to dashboards, right now there are no dashboards in here at all. If I click to Discover tab, again, there's no data here at all. And sometimes if I go to Observability Overview, this metrics widget is not initialized. By running the setup, we should get something either here or in the Discover tab or in the Dashboards area. Let's try this out. Okay, so we have an error, apparently. Let's see what the issue is. Something's wrong with this value here. ILM. Oh, okay, get rid of that semicolon, and now let's run this again. So far so good. It could take a minute or two, so I'm going to pause until this is done. So this says that we are successful, and if I go to here, if I hit refresh, okay, nothing yet. Sometimes I might actually have to turn on Metricbeat before I see anything here. But at the very least, I should have some dashboards over here. So these are boiler template dashboards that we can use later on. And if I click to the Discover tab, we can see that there's a data view made along with all these empty fields. So that's good. Let's see what the next step is. The next step is to create a publishing role, which is not as privileged as the setup role. And just like the FileBeat episode, whether these roles here are correct or not, it's kind of hit and miss for me. So if I open up this tab, they recommend these privileges associated with your newly set up publish role. Sometimes it works for me, sometimes it doesn't. And when it does not work, I just combine this role with the setup role and assign both roles to the Metricbeat user, and then things seem to work. So what we'll do is, let's actually try just these settings. Create just this publish role and only assign this publish role to the Metricbeat user and see what happens. If we get errors, we'll combine the roles. I've already summarized these over here, and that means we go over to the stack management area, go to roles again, and we will create a new role called the Metricbeat publisher. I'll just paste the same thing over here. And we're going to need the monitor. Monitor. Read ILM. And for the Metricbeat indices, we want the create doc and the auto configure. And let's hit create role. Let's go to users now. Over here, let's go to our Metricbeat user and delete these roles and use just the Metricbeat publisher to see if it'll work. And next is just a little bit more security. The first thing is we don't want to have the username and password visible directly in this file. So if I go back, or is it forward? Forward. Okay, over here. One thing is we don't want to store passwords in this file, so what we can do instead is create an API key and then have it here. But API keys is also still considered sensitive information. So instead of pasting it directly into this file, we will turn this into a variable. In fact, let's delete these. Turn this into a variable, $ES API key, and we will define this variable inside the Metricbeat key store, because the key store will encrypt the value and populate Metricbeat during runtime. Okay, so let's go ahead and create our API key for the Metricbeat user. We're going to go to DevTools, and we'll highlight all this, delete it, paste this code here, and we want to do this for the Metricbeat user. The password for this user was ABCD1234, and let's press save or go. All right, let's take this and I'm going to paste it to a notepad. Okay, now it's pasted here. I'm going to format it in a certain way that Elasticsearch needs, which is the ID followed by the API key. Paste it in here. And this is going to be our ES API key over here. So let's X out of here for a moment and populate our key store with this command here. Paste. Yes, let's make the key store, and the value is this over here. Paste, enter, and I believe that should be it. Systemctl enable Metricbeat and systemctl start Metricbeat. And if things actually work out, we will start seeing some information in here. I don't see any errors so far. Hit reload here. Okay, it looks like this time things seem to have worked right away, unlike some of my previous attempts where I see a bunch of errors. Again, if I do see errors, I'll just combine the setup role and the publish role together into for the file for this one Metricbeat user to use. I just want to take a look at the syslog to see if there's any actual errors. That's an info. Okay, so Metricbeat seems pretty stable so far, and we're getting data here. And let's take a look at the dashboards. If I go to metric, or I think it's host machine, host overview maybe, or maybe it's this one. Yeah, open up both to see which one it is. Okay, it looks like it's this dashboard that's being populated. How about this one? Okay, I don't think this one's actually used, so it's this one. Great, so we've got Metricbeat up and running. So I think the only other thing I wanted to show was in Metricbeat, if you don't want to, or if let's say we installed Apache. In fact, let's do that now. apt get install -y Apache 2. And I'll pause until it's installed. All right, the Apache web server should be installed right now. Let me just double check. If I grab this IP address and paste it into my browser. Okay, great. So Metricbeat or Apache is up and running. Now, if I want Metricbeat to send information over here, what I would do is go into the modules.d directory and let's see if there's Apache here. Yes, I would rename this as apache.yaml, edit it so that anything that's disabled is actually enabled. And then I would have to do systemctl restart Metricbeat, before Metricbeat starts shipping all this data over to Elasticsearch. If I don't want to do a systemctl restart, what I can do is go over here, and for this reload option, let's set it to true. And we want a reload period of, normally I would state it to be maybe 5 minutes or so, but for test purposes, let's keep it simple or keep it quick, 30 seconds. By doing this, and if I just restart once, start Metricbeat. Once Metricbeat restarts, any further updates to this modules.d directory, Metricbeat should be able to pick up automatically without me having to run this restart every single time. So let's see if Metricbeat is up, or if we run into any errors. No errors here. Let's go to dashboards and let's take a look at Apache and see if any data is being shipped over here yet. Oh, not yet, because I haven't even enabled the modules. So let's go here, mv apache to apache.yaml, and let's edit this to send some status information every 10 seconds, and let's keep the rest as default. Doesn't look like we have to change anything else. And without needing to do a systemctl restart, Metricbeat should automatically recognize that we need to send Apache information over to Elasticsearch. Yep, there we go. We're already seeing data in here. And that concludes this video. Next, I recommend you check out some of our videos on Logstash. And for our members, you should watch our videos on integrating the Beats library with Logstash into more advanced architectural patterns. Thank you, and see you all in the next video.